going to be talking about the PDF plugin generator. It's an awful name. The URL is even worse because I'm not paying for it. Google App Engine is kind enough to provide free hosting, so that's the URL you're getting. So again, the tool I didn't read is it allows people without thumbs to generate PDFs, or then animals without thumbs generating PDFs. It requires no coding. So I'm not going to go even into the agenda. Yeah.
Another cat photo, I found that to be nice. So some history, which you may or may not need to know. So 2008, I wrote a tool in Python that generated DITA, DTD shell files and skeletons for structural specializations, because those files have a very repetitive structure. You can generate those. That's actually fairly trivial. Once you establish the code around it, you can repeat that same for various types of things. Then I wrote a GUI for it. It's hosted in the in the same address as the PDF generator. And then I realized you can actually do the same thing for the PDF plugin. You can just generate the code. DTDs were easy. PDF generation or the PDF plugin generation should be equally easy. So I think that's a quote from Matrix: never send a human to the machine's job. So if you can have a machine do the job for you, just remove the human. Actually, these two talks complement each other, I think. Yeah. So the rationale for me, it's to make the world a better place, so dogs can smile and people can be happy. That's the real reason, because while Open Toolkit is a hobby, this is a toy project that is even more of a hobby, that I just think it's good to have it out there. So originally it was just a proof of concept and a toy project. It's still a toy project, really. But it allows non-technical people or cats to customize the PDF output without needing to read a book and without needing to understand what's happening behind the scenes. Since even though everyone here would be able to do these things if they read the book, now I'm talking about the book, and change those. It can be done, but most people don't want to. Especially if you have people in marketing who need to create a demo for a new customer, they could use this tool to generate something that looks like the customer's old documentation. Not exactly, but it's enough to get that deal done. Also, it's an example how I think PDF2 plugin should be extended. Plain example, if someone wants to look at the code once it's done. And it can be used to act as a skeleton for further development. So it's not something that you generate once and then just use, but you can rather generate something. You have the skeleton of the plugin that already does something, and then you manually add the things that the generator doesn't already do. That's the complex stuff. That's the 400 changes that the customer actually requests in the end. And it's about dogfooding the PDF2 templates to see whether they are extendable and how easy it is to extend. So it's also sort of a feedback loop to myself when I change the PDF templates. Okay, this has been covered extensively. The only thing I really want to highlight here is that some DITA processors have a configuration layer, sort of a configuration file with 500 options, and you tweak the style there. PDF2 doesn't have that. So that's something that makes the use of PDF2 a bit more difficult when you need to customize it, but it also means that people go in, change the XSLT, and because XSLT has no functionality to mark a given template as final or private, meaning other extensions, other plugins can't use this template, or you may not overwrite this. That means that people write plugins for PDF2 and they change everything. That makes changing PDF2 plugin more difficult at the Open Toolkit level. So that's why it has a lot of legacy constructs, because we can't change things because everyone's plugins will break. And you shouldn't use the customization directory. Okay, so the front-end technology stack, it's basically it runs in the browser, the back end runs on the server, it's written in Python, that's it. So let me just quickly go through it. This one is hosted, or actually runs on my own machine, just because I don't want to rely on Google. They might be down. So the shell generation and so forth, they're here. But then you have the PDF plugin. There's a considerable delay here. So PDF2 plugin changes in every Open Toolkit version. So you need to actually specify which version you're targeting. I'll just target 2.0 now. And since different renderers have different functionality, and sometimes you need to add workarounds because they have bugs, or one supports XSL 1.1 and the other one doesn't, maybe has an extension, you need to also specify which formatter you're targeting. And the third option here, whether we actually override those shell files in a way, not use the custom.xsl files that you find in the customization directory, but rather actually overwrite the shell file. And if you're going to reprocess and develop this plugin that's generated, if you're going to develop it further, then you really need to check this one. So it starts with selecting the page size. The list is small, but there aren't that many different pages. You select the orientation. There's a small, simple preview showing you the things. You can increment on pressing arrow up. The preview should make the content area smaller, or you can define that you're using mirror margins, or the how many columns do you want on the page. It just has 1 or 2, but in most cases you don't want 3 or 4. If you want those, you can just open the files that have been generated and change them yourselves. So, yeah, how do I generate a preview? It's a hack. If I would want to productize this tool, I would rewrite it to be something else, like Canvas or SVG or something. This should work with modern browsers. I haven't tested this on Windows, meaning I haven't a clue if it works on IE, but that's just implementation details. Then the editing functionality for headers and footers is very limited. You can either select chapter title or empty. In the future, I would like to add a functionality where you could drop sort of metadata fields, predefined metadata fields, like I want a title here, I want a chapter title here. And it has a drop folio, which means drop the page number to the bottom of the page. Again, drop and drag and drop functionality for GUI. Editing it in a GUI would be nice, but that takes time, because I can implement the back-end code generation about 10 times faster than the actual GUI. The GUI takes the most time. That's why it doesn't have that many features. Then how the sections start after a chapter, whether you force a even or odd page, or just don't care, you don't insert these constraints. And then whether you want a chapter table of contents or not, it doesn't look very nice, but it's the default. Then there's a sort of a style editor, and unfortunately the preview doesn't completely work. It has bugs in it. So everything that is here will take effect. The preview might not always be correct. So the font list is very limited. Why? I don't know what fonts the customer will have. So I could have people type in the font name, but then if you're in marketing, you don't know font names. You know, there's the one with the corner thingies, and then there's Comic Sans. I thought about adding Comic Sans here. So you can change the font size, underline everything, reduce the indentation, toggle the line space, and then do different things with, okay, it says aqua, it's actually black. Let me try and toggle it a bit. Yeah, now it's line. Whether I want line numbering to be on heading 1, but it's not on level 3 now. Let me just make that actually a bit smaller. Yeah, underlining doesn't, it's not pretty. Then the changes or the options you have here change depending on which element you're editing. For example, with notes, you can just take the arrow or the pointy finger away. It's here. With pre-format, usually not necessarily pre-format, code block. With code block, people want silver background. It's down here now. Oh, it's updating very slowly. Okay. Then with ordered lists, you can define what sort of numbering scheme you want to use, what characters you want before and after. The editing functionality here isn't pretty, but it works. The UX has been somewhat copied from Word because I think Microsoft has few UX people working there, maybe not, but it's still fairly clear what Word has, and people are used to that type of thing. So we can change the numbering to be A, B, C, and it's changed here to a small a. It's in a way the same for unordered lists. With definition lists, I've always hated that the default output is a table. So you can change the definition lists to be rendered either as a HTML style. Oh, it's so slow. You guys should be behind me looking at my screen. So to be the HTML style or to be sort of a bulleted listing. There could be a third one with a bulleted list, then a M dash, and then something. The various styles could be applied, but these are things that I can't have every possible option because I don't know what people really need or want. Table editing is quite limited because the UI for it would take ages. So there's just a matter of selecting, do you want numbering, table numbering to be document-wide, or you don't want numbering at all, and where the title will be, or the caption. Basically the same thing for figure. There's only one inline element, styling, because I assume that people don't want the B element to be styled as an underline italic red. So right now it's xref and link elements that can be modified here. I wonder where the preview is here. So yeah, wait. So the preview for links is here. So I can, in external links, it can show the URL, like example.com. I think it generates the @ here. It's probably really difficult to see, but I wasn't able to make the page bigger because the preview doesn't then work anymore. It starts to overflow. Or you can remove the page number because not everyone, I mean, there's no point in generating page numbers if the PDF is intended to be used in Acrobat Reader or any reader, not ever printed. Just waste of space, really. So you can tweak the styles here extensively, and then basically you have a because this works as a wizard, you basically have the page that has everything else. So you can upload a cover image, or you can define that cover image URL should be read from a data element in your map with this name. So I've been planning on adding functionality to define a cover topic. That would make more sense. You don't want to insert your cover graphic name into your map. Elliot? Yeah. So DITA for publishers has had functionality like this, where you can define the cover page. The bookmap specialization that Oasis has isn't the best for publishing needs, so partially working around that. Then with table of contents, how many levels you want to show, whether you want the PDF bookmarks to be collapsed. That was easy to implement, so I added that. Whether you want the task labels to appear, or have the table continued or next page text at the end of table if a table breaks to a new page. You can't use this in FOP. So this will be available only if you've already selected Antenna House as your formatter. So not all features will be available if you're using something other than Antenna House, because it basically implements XSL 1.1, and that has more. And whether you want related links in your topics or not. If you use all related links, the PDFs become very unreadable, but sometimes you might want to have all of them. Then it asks you for a plugin ID, which is the plugin ID. Then the name of the trans type. You can give it a version. It prompts to then just save a zip file. Let's see if my demo works. Dum-de-dum. Okay, so you can't see that, right? Where can I make it bigger? Yeah. Now it's getting to be bigger. Now it's in the bottom. Okay, that's nice. So it's installing the demo there. So then in theory I could use it to run DITA, let's say, okay. PVD means it's so slow. Format demo. Oh, scheiße. Sorry. Yeah, and I also want to give it a output directory. So, no. Yep. Yep. So the new command line tool, it actually doesn't print anything on the console, because the Unix convention is if everything is okay, don't say anything. So you can't see the progress. It's doing something, but only if something goes wrong, it starts to print out error messages. You can, there's a -v toggle, so you can make it verbose. Or we could start to draw some sort of, I don't know, ASCII art there on the screen. Why is it taking this long? Anyhow, oh, it's done. Oh. Wonderful. And there it is, and I have no idea whether it will look correct. What did we actually change? We didn't actually change that much. Oh, it's 2-column. As you can see, it looks awful. So this does in no way prevent you from creating awful PDFs or awful layout. Yeah. So we have the related links. Wait for it. We have the related links there, like concepts info and related information, and it's on with green. So Leah showed us the manual way of doing it. It can be automated, and if you can teach a computer to do it, you can do it. Yeah, definitely. So how much time do I still have? 8 minutes. Yeah, brilliant. Let me go back to my slide. So what's missing? A lot. Cover editor, a nice visual cover editor, a nice drag and drop editor for headers and footers, a nice editor for defining all the various things you might want to do in the table of contents or in the index. Font configuration to be easier, but the problem is that you don't know what the fonts will be, what fonts will be used, and you can't just see what fonts the user might have on the machine they're using the browser on, because the fonts are actually on the conversion server. So fonts are, in a way, more difficult to have an editor for. A set of predefined nice graphics for the note, because the pointing finger isn't the best icon you have. And then this is hosted on GitHub, so return to full screen. So this is hosted on GitHub, so you can actually file an issue there and request new features. But this is a sort of a toy project, so I'm not actively working on this, and I actually fixed the code generation this morning.
Because it's on GitHub, you can just go and fork that and do some changes, not ask you to do some more.
Yeah, you can change the code there if you want to send pull requests. It's in Python. So future redirections, if I ever will get to it, the UI needs to be written with something better. The current one is not good, not extensible enough. Then I want to formalize an intermediate format, not in XML probably in JSON, to represent styling information. You have a GUI tool to define the intermediate styling representation, and then something consumes it. And it doesn't have to be a PDF2 plugin that is generated. It can be something else too, something that Radu will talk about in the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes for questions.
Any questions? No? Good. Brilliant.
Yeah, there was a question about. There was a question about keep rules, and I want to repeat it. Any experience and advice about using keep rules?
Keeps are difficult because you have authors that create task steps that are longer than 1 page. That's a common one. So keep rules are difficult, especially when you're not absolutely certain what the authors will actually then write. My tool doesn't have any settings for keeps, but in theory it could have that, for example, code blocks always need to be kept together, unless of course you have code blocks that are very long and then it overflows and everything is awful. Keeps are difficult, and that's something that require a lot of tweaking and sort of going through what you actually have and then just implementing that.
Something I'll mention is Tony Graham, who's been doing FO stuff for a long time, presented at the Balasage conference this summer an open source package that implements a general 2-pass mechanism for both FOP and antenna house that could be plugged into the toolkit without difficulty. I haven't had time to do it, but that allows you to solve all of those difficult page layout problems because it allows you to have feedback from the first pass pagination back to a second pass, so you can say, oh, yeah, this block spanned a page, so let me split it here, or whatever you need to do. It ends up being, I won't say easy, but doable, whereas otherwise it's impossible.
Yeah. So XSL-FO 2.0 would have had some functionality probably that would have made our lives easier, but that's dead now, so that's dead. So XSL-FO isn't being actively developed anymore because CSS took over, even though it doesn't have all the functionality that XSL has.
Any other question?
Brilliant, thanks.
Thank you.